Hey, my name is Dominic, aka Blind Justice, and I'm the creator of What's Done in the Dark, the audio drama. Now, here recently, we've had a member in our community, the blind and visually impaired community, to pass. Liam Christopher Lyndsey was an integral part of the community, making sure that he spread his positivity and message of being yourself and continuing to press on. I had many of conversations with him as I was actually planning to put this series together, and he actually was a contributor to the character who will be introduced in this particular episode, Isabella. So I wanted to go ahead and take a moment to pay Liam Lyndsey respect and to have a moment of silence for him. After that, the episode will get started. Thank you guys and enjoy.
Image is a memorial photo featuring Liam Christopher Lyndsey, with short curly hair, wearing a dark polo shirt. He has a gentle smile on his face. The background is a plain light-colored wall. The text above the photo reads in loving memory of and below the photo. It says Liam Christopher Lyndsey with the dates March 5, 1976 to October 9, 2024.
Blind Justice presents a hero and a city with secrets hidden by the cloak of night. What's Done in the Dark, the audio drama.
Click, clack, click. Isabella's heels echoed down the empty hallway. The rhythmic tapping against the polished marble floor was the only sound daring to break the silence. Her fitted pencil skirt, a stark black against her olive skin, swayed with each step. A flash of crimson peeked from beneath the hem, a hint of the fire that burned beneath her professional facade. Isabella clutched a manila folder to her chest, her knuckles white. This delivery was important. This delivery was dangerous. The air grew heavy as she approached the office at the end of the hall. A nameplate gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights. Mayor Rashad. Isabella's breath hitched. Her fingers tightened on the folder, crinkling the edges. This man, the man behind this door, held the fate of the city in his hands. And Isabella, whether she liked it or not, was about to become entangled in his web. With a shaky exhale, Isabella raised her hand and rapped her knuckles against the polished mahogany. A deep voice boomed from within.
Enter.
The single word reverberated through the room, a physical force that sent a shiver down Isabella's spine. Steeling herself, she pushed open the door and stepped inside. The scent of power, of expensive cologne, and even more expensive ambition washed over her. This was the lion's den. Mayor Rashad sat behind a massive mahogany desk. Papers were scattered across its surface, a testament to the city's unrest. His face, framed by a neatly trimmed salt and pepper beard, was grim. On the wall, a large flat-screen TV blared the local news. Images of the previous night's rally flashed across the screen. The chaotic scene, protesters clashing with riot police, smoke billowing into the night sky, seemed a world away from the sterile calm of the mayor's office. "They're calling him a hero," a news anchor's voice announced, sharp and clear over the sounds of sirens and shouting. Community organizer Irving narrowly escaped a suspicious assassination attempt last night. Many believe it was a targeted attack meant to silence his growing opposition to Mayor Rashad's policies. The mayor's jaw clenched, the muscles in his face ticking. He reached for a crystal tumbler on his desk, swirling the amber liquid within. Isabella's eyes darted to the screen, then back to the mayor. She knew Irving, or at least she'd known of him. He was a good man, a voice for the voiceless, and now it seemed he was a thorn in the mayor's side. She swallowed hard, the folder suddenly feeling heavy in her hands. She had a bad feeling about this, a very bad feeling.
Is that all they're reporting?
Mayor Rashad's voice was a low growl, barely audible above the news report. Isabella cleared her throat, stepping forward. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floor, each step a tiny drumbeat of anxiety.
Yes, sir, though there are rumors circulating online. Conspiracy theories mostly. Let the sheep bleat. Their whispers can't hurt me.
He took a sip of his drink, his eyes never leaving the screen.
Did you bring the files?
Isabella placed the folder on the desk, her hand lingering on the manila surface for a beat too long.
Everything you asked for, sir.
The mayor flipped open the folder. Pictures stared back at him. Andre, the ex-gang member with haunted eyes. Christian, the ever-so-elusive ghost with a knack for running from his issues. And Irving, the community organizer with a fiery spirit. Men who dared to challenge him, men who were quickly becoming a problem, a dangerous problem.
Good. These nuisances need to be dealt with, permanently.
Unseen, unheard, a figure moved through the city. He was a shadow, a whisper in the night. Blind Justice, they called him, a vigilante who saw not with his eyes but with his heart. His world was a symphony of sound, of vibrations and echoes that painted a picture more vivid than any sight. The city was his canvas, and tonight he was preparing for a masterpiece. Dominic, the man behind the scars, could feel the city's fear, its simmering rage. It thrummed beneath his fingertips, a constant, pulsing rhythm. He could also sense the mayor's growing darkness, a suffocating presence that threatened to consume everything in its path. But Dominic had pledged to fight that darkness. He had pledged to be a beacon of hope in a city teetering on the brink. His fingers danced across the sleek surface of his braille tablet, reading the latest news reports. Irving, a good man, a new friend, had been targeted. The mayor's hand at work, no doubt. A cold fury settled in Dominic's gut. He wouldn't let Rashad get away with it. He wouldn't let anyone else get hurt. In a secluded lab bathed in the cold glow of monitors, a different kind of observation was taking place. Two young girls, Ruth's daughters, sat at the center of a web of wires and sensors. Their every breath, every blink was being analyzed, recorded, dissected. Cameras tracked the girls' every move, capturing their growing frustration, their confusion.
Their powers are unstable, a scientist in a white coat murmured, his eyes glued to the readings scrolling across his screen. Unpredictable, but incredibly potent. He tapped a finger against his chin, a thoughtful frown creasing his forehead. With the right motivation, they could be formidable weapons.
From the shadows, a figure watched. He was tall, imposing, with eyes that glinted like ice in the dim light. This was one of the mayor's confidants, a man who dealt in whispers and shadows. He had been tasked with monitoring the girls' progress, with harnessing their power. His lips curled into a chilling smile. The mayor would be very pleased. The heavy oak doors to the mayor's office swung shut with a resounding thud. Isabella jumped, her pulse quickening. She'd never witnessed such a blatant display of secrecy, of power cloaked in darkness. 4 figures stood before the mayor's desk, their faces obscured by the dim lighting. They were tall, imposing, radiating an aura of quiet menace that sent chills down Isabella's spine.
Gentlemen, the mayor greeted, his voice smooth as silk despite the tension crackling in the air. Thank you for coming on such short notice. We have much to discuss. The figures remained silent, their presence alone a chilling response.
Isabella felt a tremor of fear run through her. Who were these men, and what did their presence mean for the city?
The time for subtlety is over, Rashad continued, his voice hardening. The people need to be reminded who truly holds the reins of power in this city. He gestured towards the files on his desk, the ones with Andre, Christian, and Irving's faces staring up at them. No loose ends. Do you understand?
A low murmur of assent rippled through the room. Isabella shuddered, a cold premonition settling in her gut. Something wicked this way comes. The night air was thick with the smell of exhaust fumes and distant rain. Dominic perched on the edge of a rooftop, the city sprawling beneath him like a dark, glittering ocean. His senses were on high alert, filtering the symphony of city noises, the distant wail of sirens, the rumble of traffic, the muffled laughter from a late-night bar. He could feel the city holding its breath, bracing for a storm, and he, Blind Justice, would be ready.
He adjusted the hood that covered the top of his head, the cool fabric a comfort against his skin. Beneath it, his jaw was set, his lips a thin, determined line. Tonight was the night. He could feel it in his bones, in the thrum of anticipation that vibrated through his very being. The fight was coming. He just didn't know when, or where, it would begin.
A bead of sweat trickled down Dominic's temple. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was anticipation, excitement, and maybe, just maybe, a sliver of dread. He was about to step into the lion's den to face an enemy more powerful, more ruthless than any he'd ever encountered. But he wouldn't back down. He couldn't, not when so much was at stake.
You're early.
The voice came from behind him, low and familiar. Dominic allowed himself a small smile.
couldn't miss our pre-show ritual, could I?
He turned to face his friend, his brother in arms, Andre. Andre stepped into the moonlight, his face etched with the weariness of 1,000 battles. The scars that crisscrossed his skin, souvenirs from a life spent fighting for what he believed in, were almost invisible in the darkness. Almost. But Dominic didn't need to see them to know they were there. He could feel them, could sense the echoes of pain and resilience they held.
Nervous? Andre asked, his voice devoid of judgment. They had been through too much together, seen too much for pretense.
Dominic let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Wouldn't be human if I wasn't.
Andre reached out to touch Dominic's hand, the gesture heavy with understanding.
We fight for what we believe in, he said, his voice firm. For a better tomorrow. For a city free from fear. His words were a battle cry, a reminder of why they were here, why they had to fight.